Welcome to the debate. If a believer suffers a severe panic attack, is it just a chemical misfire in the brain, or is it a demonic Trojan horse infiltrating their spiritual territory? Today, we are analyzing Canaan Bridges' text, Kingdom Authority, to see if believers actually possess, absolute, literal spiritual dominion over their personal struggles. I'll be defending the text's practical framework, showing how claiming this spiritual authority actually equips believers to actively govern their circumstances.
Right, and I'll be questioning if categorizing mental health struggles strictly as spiritual attacks, well, if it ignores pressing medical realities. We really need to ask if this theology oversimplifies complex human suffering and, frankly, distorts historical understandings of authority.
So let's just get right into the mechanism Bridges proposes. He argues that believers often adopt this posture of powerless religion. To counter this, he doesn't just say, pray harder. He points to the Greek word sugathoso from Ephesians 2:6, which means being seated together with Christ. He's arguing that by adopting the psychological posture of a co-ruler, the believer actually shifts their brain out of a state of helpless panic and into active governance.
Right, like diplomatic immunity.
Exactly. It's like diplomatic immunity. You are operating in hostile territory, but you're governed by the untouchable laws of a higher jurisdiction.
Diplomatic immunity is a neat analogy, but we really have to look at the collateral damage of Bridges' Trojan horse metaphor.
How so?
Well, he explicitly describes depression and anxiety as demonic Trojan horses. If I have a clinical, chemical imbalance, treating a biological misfire as a demonic infiltration completely derails proper medical treatment. It fundamentally alters how a person seeks help.
Yeah, but
It potentially alienates those who desperately need clinical intervention, in favor of purely spiritual solutions. It's a real danger.
I hear that. But he isn't telling people to just throw away their medicine. He's redefining human jurisdiction. Look at the Hebrew concept of shamar in Genesis. Adam was the individual warden of Eden, right? Tasked to guard it.
Right.
Bridges argues Jesus restored that exact, localized individual authority to the believer and empowers the individual to take responsibility for their spiritual environment rather than just being a victim to it.
Wait, let me stop you right there. Are you saying Bridges believes the individual believer has the exact same localized authority in their living room as Christ does in heaven?
Well, yes, delegated authority.
Because if you're a seminary student listening to this, your immediate red flag is the hyper-individualism here. Bridges shares this open vision of the believer as a 15-foot-tall, heavily armed spiritual giant. Historically, Orthodox theology places spiritual authority in the corporate church body, not the lone individual. Are we meant to be individual rogue officers acting alone?
The text absolutely advocates for a localized, individual realization of authority. Bridges connects this to the Greek word basileia in Luke 17:21. The kingdom of God is within you. The argument is that the internal government of God supersedes external environmental challenges.
But practically,
That is the entire premise of the deliverance prayer at the end of the chapter. It offers a framework for walking in, unbroken victory over your physical environment.
I just don't buy that absolute guarantee of unbroken victory. If the internal kingdom supersedes the physical environment, how do we reconcile that with the historical reality of ancient believers? The apostles endured severe physical hardships, illnesses, martyrdom.
Sure, but
The text risks over-spiritualizing adversity, implying that if you just submit to God's government, you'll never be subservient to physical or mental anguish again. That's a huge leap.
it's not about denying physical pain, though. It's about not being governed by it. The practical efficacy of this theology is that it provides a master's key for believers to refuse defeatism. It challenges the believer to step into their delegated exousia, their rightful power to achieve daily victory over the darkness encroaching on their minds and lives.
But by framing every struggle as a domain to be conquered by an empowered 15-foot spiritual giant, we really risk invalidating the profound spiritual growth that happens through enduring unfixable human frailty.
Ultimately, I view Bridges' text as a linguistically grounded, vital key to spiritual empowerment. It demands we stop being passive in the face of adversity.
And I see a framework that, while well-intentioned in its push against powerless religion, risks over-spiritualizing complex psychological struggles. It individualizes authority in a way that breaks from historical orthodoxy.
I think where we absolutely converge, though, is that this material forces a serious reevaluation of our spiritual identity.
Precisely. The tension we're left with is how to responsibly integrate the concept of the master's key into our walks.
Right. We have to figure out how to adopt a radically victorious spiritual posture while honoring the reality of physical human frailty at the exact same time. There's certainly much more to explore here.